Messi. Messi. Oh my goodness. Balotelli. Aguero. Oh, that is extraordinary. What a headshot. What a head.
Back of the net.
Hello, and welcome to our first round of Euro 2024 review and reaction. If you didn't know already, we have been doing live watch-alongs and alternative commentary for some of the games so far. We did it for the opener for Germany. We did it for the England match. Stay tuned and keep an eye on our socials for them. Generally, you'll see them on my own TikTok live and then mainly on Twitch. Mine is just, I think it's just Killian Ginnity, or it's Ginnity backwards, I think it's Killian Ginnity though. And then Not a Pundit podcast on Twitch, just for something a little bit different. But that's not all we're doing here right now. We're doing something very normal, a normal podcast. And I'm delighted to be joined by Robbie Redmond and Conor Glennon, the OGs. Gentlemen, how have we found the Euro so far?
Is there anything better than 3 games a day? It is just sensational. It's the same like when the Olympics is on and you become an expert about shot put. I now know more about Slovenia, Slovakia than I ever have before. It's damn exciting. I don't know about you, Robbie.
Yeah, it's been really good and the standard's really high. And there's been no bad matches other than the England game. That was probably the only poor match has been over the last few days. And then the standard as well. The standard of the teams is actually really strong. And it just kind of shows how far Ireland are off this level, but that's another story. But yeah, the matches have been really good so far.
How you find it, Killian?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Like, obviously, we've done, I think, a total of 4 hours of live watch-alongs so far. So I'm very, I'm all over the games that I've seen. I haven't seen every game. I'll be very, very honest. I didn't stay up for the Copa America on Saturday night, which would have been a 2 p.m. to a 2 a.m. I didn't do the full 12 hours, but I did kind of keep an eye on some of the scores over there, just because it's a very interesting competition as well. But just to get us started, Rob, the opening match, a 5-1 trouncing for Scotland by Germany, the hosts. I was very impressed by Musiala and Florian Wirtz. Like, if you haven't seen them in Champions League before, they've arrived. Like, it was very, very convincing. Oh
yeah, they're brilliant. Kroos was brilliant. Havertz, my tip for the Golden Boot, was pretty good as well. He got a goal. And the 2 centre halves are really solid. And Scotland were just, I felt bad for him. I think they showed Shay Given a clip of the goals that Spain scored against Ireland in 2012, and he'd never seen them before. And it was like one of those war flashback movies where like the guy's like, he's in cold sweat, and Shay Given's in cold sweat watching that. And any Ireland fans kind of watching that would have been nearly the same. Like, oh, that's kind of what would have happened to us if we were there. And we've been on the end of those drubbings at tournaments. Like, it was a bit similar to 2012 when Spain beat Ireland, and Scotland were miles off it. And Gundogan was lucky that his leg wasn't broken. But yeah, I was impressed by Germany. I think they're, from what I've seen so far, which I have an 8-month-old baby now, so I don't see as much of the football as I used to. But I'd say I've seen about 70% so far, and they've been the best, most impressive, I think, or even the closest to a club team that you'd see from any of the teams that are out there. Like, I heard talk this morning, we'll come to them in England, like, they'll grow into the tournament. To me, Germany they already look fully formed, and yeah, they've some great players, as you said.
Do you think that's the home advantage, or do you think they just have a cohesion?
I think it's the coach as much as anything, and I think Kroos coming back is just a masterclass. Like, I think one of the stations were showing it that, like, you're watching Scotland, you're like, I was thinking, how are these guys losing 5-1? I say as I sit on the couch watching it, but like, who are these dopes? Like, but then you're thinking, they showed it back that, like, when Kroos has the ball, you either, you can chase him down and press him, but then he's just going to pop it around you, or if you stand off him, he's just going to play it through you. So it's so difficult. Like, they're just Kroos's class, and he makes them tick. And then you have Havertz, I think, did really well up front, and as Killian said, Musiala and Wirtz, who are, like, I'd say, if there was like a list of top players under like 22 or 21, they're going to be probably top 10. So they have got some superstars as well. But yet they were really, really good. And then the home advantage as well. And I think Nagelsmann is an elite level coach. Like, he could probably top coaching a top club team, which is not this. You couldn't say the same for every manager at the tournament, but he definitely could be. So that you can see the difference.
He's frightening young to be able to bring a team like that to a tournament like this in the way that they are. Like, I mean, they, like you said, they're absolutely firing all cylinders. Like, I know it's first game of the tournament in a home country. They're obviously going to want to put on a show, but it seems like they put on a masterclass, really.
Like, especially when you consider, like, this was a Germany team before Nagelsmann got his hands on them. That was very much out of sorts. They were not, like, was it on Amazon, the behind the scenes documentary on the World Cup? Like, this was not a team that was comfortable in their tactics. They weren't comfortable necessarily playing with each other. And to get that turnaround in like a relatively short space of time. Now, one thing I have to say about them is they had a very assured performance against Scotland, but it was quite boring. Like, they were very dominant, but it was just industrious.
Very German.
Very German. It was just
very
like
Scottish. They just
yeah. But it was just like they went and did their jobs and they just applied whatever their game plan was over and over and over until it worked. It wasn't like, say, like Spain 2008 or 2012 in previous Euros, where it's like, yeah, this is a team on fire. They're having fun. They're playing around with these teams. No, this was just like, this is what we're going to do. They did it. It didn't work this time. Repeat. It worked this time. And it worked 5 times. Like, it was very, very impressive. And now I do think the scoreline faltered to deceive, like, how good they were. I think the scoreline is more showing of how bad Scotland was, because after the first goal, that whatever shape they were supposed to have was gone. It just fell apart so quickly. They were meant to be playing like a 3-4-3 with like McGinn as like a front winger, and sure, he ended up playing half the game in the center. Like, it was just
playing 3 at the back against Germany, though. Like, even before you kick off, what are you doing?
And no Gilmore, which I found surprising as someone who hasn't watched Scotland that much, but you need someone who can hold on to the ball. Like, I know Scott McTominay's been scoring lots of goals, but he's not going to do it for you. McGinn is more get around the pitch type of guy, like you get stuck in as well. And he's a good footballer, but you need someone to get on the ball. And Gilmore was just he didn't trust him. Clark maybe just thought he wasn't physical enough. I don't know, but they're in shocking form as well. I think that's come into the tournament 1 win and 9, which is against Malta. They would remind you a lot of Ireland in 2012. It just probably is come a bit too late for them.
It really does, actually. And like, we've talked about it on the pod before, and this sounds awful as a fan, but sometimes you just have to play ugly. You've got to stick 5 at the back, full catenaccio, and push for a 1-0, or even had they got 0 all there, that would have been gigantic.
Would you like to get to a tournament with Ireland in the same way that Scotland did and get the results that Scotland are now getting? Or would you prefer to be out of the tournament and maybe trying to get in when you're good enough to compete?
I don't know, because it's hard, because we've been here before with that, and like, that Spain game back in 2012 was truly depressing. Like, those kind of games stick with you for a long time. Like, I'm fine going to tournaments and we lose 2-0 here, 2-1 there, 3-1 here. That okay, we're at least in it. But if you're on for like a couple of trounces, look, Scotland may pull a result out of the bag, but a short answer long or long answer short, whatever we want to do it, I'd want to go for the vibes of being in a tournament. But if it's as bad as that every time, that gets a bit wearing.
Yeah, it looked like the fans were enjoying it. It was having a great time. It was the first time Scotland were at a tournament other than Euro 21, which was like the COVID tournament since '98. So those lads, I don't think they mind, and they'll probably get 2 scrappy draws now and kind of redeem themselves, but get knocked out. So it did look like they're having a good time. So I'd say they'll be okay. And the other 2 teams they're not too far off the level, but I can't see them coming through.
What about you, Killian? Would you want to be there? It's tough, like, because it would be good crack, but like, is it good for the national team to be in that position and get battered?
See, I think when you look at, like, was it 2016 that we were there? I think that team ended up carrying them scars for a long time. Like, I know Brady is still dining out on that goal, and we still remember like the Houlihan goal and all, but like, I don't think Jeff Hendrick got any benefit for it. Like, I think he arguably, after that tournament, tried to do the same thing over and over and over. And I don't know if it's just he didn't have any more of them, or if he was kind of like, oh, well, if this is what I was expected to at a tournament, this is what I should be doing, and this is what I'm here to do for the Ireland squad. Like, I think sometimes it's better off. Like, imagine an Evan Ferguson getting no goals at a tournament now, and then in 4 years' time having it hanging over him again, or for the next 4 years until the next tournament in Europe, because realistically we're not getting to the World Cup. That you
That
have this
scars
kind of,
you, like the pressure that
yeah,
comes with it the next time round, and it also devalues a stock in a domestic level. And yeah, like there's pluses and minuses to it. Like I mean, if like that, and Evan
media can be
Ferguson
mean.
goes scores 3, and we still don't get through, unbelievable. You
Yeah, and
know,
the media can be very mean.
yeah. Well, we're not pundits, so
But another game that was very kind of a dominant performance was Spain. And can we just comment on how good Lamine Yamal is? He's
frightening.
16. It's ridiculous. This is Football Manager come to life, Robbie.
It's disgusting. What year was that child born?
16, Jesus Christ, we're early
2008?
2000s.
He's 17, and I think a week before the final.
So,
2007.
2007. So
oh my God.
he was a year when
Right.
Spain won the Euros. Like,
Like I vividly remember
yeah,
like Germany 2006. Like I mean, the kid wasn't even born. He wasn't even a glimmer in an eye. Like
no, it's disgusting. He looks unbelievable though, but it is yeah, it'd make you sick.
he looks really comfortable in that team, and you know,
Yeah.
I think again that 3-0 was a bit of a surprise. You know, I kind of thought that game had draw written all over it. You know, with Croatia are incredibly strong in tournament football. I don't think that's going to be them for the rest of the tournament. I think that was just an off day at the start of the tournament, but it won't make their lives easy. But I think what was interesting as well for Spain is, like, you know, we're used to Spain having a star striker where all the goals come from one or two people, but having a goal source from 3 different people, that's pretty damn good, you know.
I'd be worried for Croatia. Like, I felt that their midfield three, Modric, Kovic, and my mind's gone blank.
I
Anyway,
can't remember either. Anyway, yeah.
their anyway their midfield three has been practically together for about 10 years time. Like, Kovic came in very very young. He's only 30, 31 now, so he was getting consistent. Like, he's well over 100 caps. So like,
Brozovic, that's who it was.
yeah. And having them three together, they looked tired. Like, Kovacic has well over 100 caps, and it looks it. That's kind of my worry. And I know Modric is 37 years old, and like, they're still playing well, but Spain made easy work of them. And not that I think that it's going to happen in every game, but the fact that they're that exposed doesn't give me much hope if they can get out. If they get out of the group, will they actually have the legs to go any further than the round of 16?
Probably not.
I don't know if I'd write those guys off. Like, you always have one performance like this in a tournament. I know they're all ancient now and they're wrecked, but like, Portugal got to the final Euro 2016 by like drawing every match apart from one. Like, this is a tournament where you kind of can do that because third place goes through. It'll come down to their match with Albania, who looked half decent as well. But yeah, it is like they're past their best. There's no question about that. Like, but they all just have such great spirit in the team that it just feels like they can always pull out a performance when it matters and knock
Plus,
England
they should
out.
be the model. They should be the model for Ireland. They have a population actually slightly smaller than us, and have had a much worse political history in very recent history. Considering in the 90s, half their players were spread across Europe to go and be safe. How are we not following in their footsteps, or like at least at some similar level to them? It's
on that
really
vein.
impressive.
Going back to the Scotland game for one moment, one thing from the pundits that did just boil my blood. Did you see Souness's defence of why Scotland lost that game? Is that they're a country of 5 million people versus a country of 85 million people. It's like, mate, there's surely 11 dudes who can kick a ball around. Come on now.
Yeah.
I say the same for Ireland.
Yeah.
I think one of the issues that Scotland have is that they've produced two kind of reasonable Premier League level players, and they're both left backs, and they have no idea how to get the two of them to play together. But the tournament for the first few games was absolutely brilliant, like goals constantly, really kind of competitive football. And then came on to the England game, which we did watch live on our stream, that was very boring. And the punditry in England is just oh skin crawlingly annoying.
I
What did
mean,
you make of it, Connor?
it was very underwhelming as a England performance. Again, I don't think that'll be the mark of them. Where I think they are starting to see the troubles of having such good players at their disposal is the likes of Foden being put out in the left. He's not really as powerful or as kind of impactful out in the left. He's better when he's in the centre. Then you've got Kane having to be much higher up because he doesn't want to compact that midfield and just close off the space for his own team. Trippier is a fantastic right back, but he's not a left back, so it's kind of like, why are you sticking him in there? And I think Southgate's really going to have to look at it and go, it's not a case of fitting in the biggest names I have, it's who works best in this team.
I was very like Jude was very good. Jude Bellingham was very, very good. Not as good as what the media in England was saying, is it be the first half being the greatest half by an England player at a tournament ever. But he was very, very good, and he was kind of given the free rein to kind of go anywhere. But Rob, I was very unimpressed by Harry Kane, and by the end of the match, he was practically playing defensive midfield because he had 2 touches in the first half.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mess. I really like Harry Kane. I think he's class. I think I'd say he's probably the best English footballer I've seen. Not the most talented, but the best. He's made, like, he's done so well, but I don't think that team really suited him, because I think he played his best football for England when he had someone like Sterling who would run ahead of him, or he had Rashford who would cut in and run ahead. With the problem last night when I was watching it was that all the players kind of wanted to go into the same space, as Connor was saying. So you had Bellingham, who was going everywhere, but kind of starting number 10. Then you Foden, who wanted to come in off the wing. Then you had Kane, who wants to drop deep as well. So they're just kind of, I felt like they're getting each other's way. And I don't know, they're going to need to do something to fix that. One of them 3 is going to have to be dropped. It's not going to be Bellingham. It's not going to be Kane. So it might end up being Foden, because you see what Saka did, and why he was so effective was because he was actually playing as a winger, and he was getting, like, trying to take his man on and get crosses into the box, and that's how he scored. England have players who can do that, like Bowen nearly set up Kane, and you've Anthony Gordon as well. So I think Foden's place could be,
which is mental when you think about that. He's Premier League Player of the Year this year. But I do agree with you, because I saw Gary Lineker talking about Kane and his lack of touches, and he was saying, like, as a striker, he won't really care that he only had 2 touches, but he'll care that he didn't have any chances for a goal. And I do think the other thing Lineker said, that I because in my head I'm like, Southgate needs to have a kind of bit of balls in this, where he's got Ollie Watkins, he's got Ivan Toney, and if Kane isn't working in that team, does he move him out? But then at the same point, where I kind of believe in keeping Kane in that team is, as Lineker said, is if there's 10 minutes to go and you need a goal, who do you want on that pitch? It's Harry Kane.
Yeah, I just couldn't drop him. I think he's absolutely class. It's just trying to find a way to make something work with him. I think it'd be more Foden that would be at risk. And Bellingham was great, but is anyone else starting to get annoyed by him, or not? Like, just like, he's a bit much
than thou.
He's so arrogant. Like, it's. He was talking about himself in the third person in an interview with the BBC. Like, this is the levels he's at. Even last night, there was a clip where Foden's on the edge of the box and he's screaming for it, and he also has Kyle Walker on the edge of the box. And instead of doing that, Bellingham tries to beat his man and cross it in. And you're like, yeah, he's brilliant. Like, he's great, but there's some things that weren't going well. And I don't know how much of a team player he is. I think he thinks he's the main character in the movie, like, and he kind of is, but I just don't think you can be that arrogant, and it's going to come back to bite you eventually. Like, you can't talk about yourself in the third person in an interview after beating Serbia. And you
can't do it in general.
You particularly can't do it then. Like, come on, mate, you didn't win anything. You beat Serbia, like, in the group stages, and his goal was great. But there was times, like, I seen, like, the press in England were criticising Alexander Arnold, for example, but, like, no one was running to give him any passes. Everyone was coming towards him, and they're 5 feet away from him. So I think Bellingham kind of summed up that, like, bit of indiscipline, and he was kind of going everywhere and trying to be the main guy and puffing his chest out. Like, and the media were going mad because he kind of sliced the ball, and Rio Ferdinand and that were praising him. He kind of sliced the ball, but went back to his centre half. Like, he like it didn't do anything. Like, big deal. Like, so I don't know. I think they're on course for a bit of a shock. I just can't see them making a dent. And Bellingham is super talented, and but I just think that I think he's too arrogant. I think his head has got too big from what I was looking at
I
last
don't
night.
know. I don't know about you, Killian. For me, I would not wishing an injury on Jude Bellingham, but I'd be very curious to see how that team could perform without him in it.
Killian's kind of in two minds about this now.
Well played.
Because the thing about Bellingham was, whatever criticism anybody wants to get about positioning or kind of being a generally try hard, try the game, he was the only positive movement for much of it. Like, anything good that happened usually had Bellingham in it. Now, I think part of the reason why he was running around so much is because of Trent. I thought Trent was horrendous. I don't. There was
Again,
no
though, he's in midfield. He's not a midfielder, you know.
exactly. So why play him in midfield? Like,
But
you have lots of good midfielders, and you were saying before about Kane is not being very effective in the position that he is. Well, then bring Jude deeper, like he had been doing. Play a Kane where you had Jude in that kind of slightly forward free role, and bring on the likes of an Ollie Watkins who can drift left for when Foden decides he doesn't want to play left anymore.
is
It's
Bellingham reached a
not.
stage where he can't be told what to do, though?
Oh, but because I agree with that because not out of his ability. I think he's in a Champions League winning team in a power position in that dressing room where his job is literally float. Now that'll probably change when Mbappe
Yeah,
comes in because they'll have to figure it out with Vinny and him. But like right now, I think he'd be put out if he was told stay in a specific. Like I think I agree with you, Keelan. I think keep Bellingham deep and then work from there, you know?
yeah.
I think he absolutely can be told, because you don't get to his level without fitting into systems. He can do it. He has done it, and he's done it for Madrid. Like, he's been very, very effective when told to go and be free. But like, England also need him to be able to do that, because other than that, they have nothing to really
Oh,
link their midfield.
But England have never really had a guy like him and a position like that.
But
They're not used to it like Madrid are.
no, but the thing is, like, when you have Declan Rice, who is Jordan Henderson reincarnate, the man has never seen a forward pass in an England shirt. Like, the only forward momentum they have was either Bellingham or Jordan Pickford kicking it from his own box up to nobody, because
Yeah.
Keane was in his
Oh,
own half for most of the game. It's
he's
ridiculous.
unbelievable. That's the thing. He's so talented, but it's almost like this sounds silly, not too talented, but I feel like he was trying too much, and I don't think you can say to him, "Listen, I need you to do this structural type role. I need you to do this." He's just like, "I'm Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham goes where he wants." Like, I think
Yeah.
that's
They
what I
don't
got
need
the
him.
impression of. And with Madrid, the matches I watched, which was just the Champions League matches, he was always kind of running ahead of midfield. He was never dropping in to pick up the ball, and he did do that more last night. But the key issue is it's not Bellingham. Like, if I was giving him player ratings, I would have given him 8 out of 10. Like, he was excellent. He just annoyed me because he was so arrogant. I just don't like seeing that on a player.
I think it's like the Madrid team and the City team are similar in the fact that they evolve as the game goes on and they drop into pockets of space and it's kind of this like it's just like a merry-go-round of midfielders while England are a lot more static. I don't know if you're thinking the same, Keelan.
Well, see, this is the thing. Like, they don't need him to play a structured role, because half the other players are doing that. Like, if you had Foden off the pitch because he just doesn't know where he wants to be playing because he was drifting way too central.
He hates the left. He hates
Yeah,
it for City as well.
he's just not worth playing or starting if he's going to be doing that. But when you had Trent Alexander-Arnold, just can't decide whether he wants to be a left wing back or a right wing back when he's been told to play centre. And then you have Jude dropping in. Just put Rice in as that anchor and a pivot. Let Jude be that kind of box to box kind of free roam, and just leave Kane to be the link up between Jude and the whole defensive end of things, and Kane to bring it forward into whatever kind of system they want to play up there.
Yeah.
Like, what they're doing now is they're carrying one player, and their best player who is now Jude Bellingham, because he's the only one actually creating anything, is being forced into these ridiculous situations where he seems worse than he actually is. He seems like a tryhard because he just wants something to happen. Because if he didn't do it, nobody else was gonna. Like,
I'd argue, and I don't know if you guys would agree with me on this. If you're gonna play Foden on the left, you may as well have brought Grealish.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
that's my issue. Is it's with Bellingham. It's not even an issue, but when he come up against better teams, is that because he is like a free spirit, you can only give that role to him, and then it's impacting on Kane. It's impacting on Foden, and so something's going to have to change. And if you look at the team, let's say you Trent out of position, Trippier out of position, Kane was kind of out of position because he's not like a traditional. He's not Wout Weghorst, like he wants to get involved. Even Wout Weghorst actually isn't that bad at football. He's not Noel Quinn, like he wants to get on the ball.
He's a forward, not a striker. Like,
yeah, and then you have Foden out of position too. So like that's nearly half your team.
And then Saka's just there like, what do I do now? Because this midfield's so cluttered and everyone's trying to come into the centre, so I'm getting pushed out even further, right?
And then when you come up against a team like I imagine like France or Germany or Portugal, I just think, they'll have a good spell, but they'll figure them out. And even that's your thing. Like they kind of only they did well, and then they just kind of stopped playing. Like we're not going to really bother for a second goal here. Like it's just we might catch them on the break, but we'll see it out. And then even today, you read like the reports from it. No one knows how to feel about it. These England fans or reporters. Like, are they optimistic? Are they cautious? Or what is it like? Because it was kind of just a bit of a Southgate-y type match. There was nothing too much from it. But us, we can see it clearly. I think they're on course for a bigger team to knock them out. That's maybe by the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Do you think, though, that Southgate actually has it in him now to make the big calls, Connor, to potentially change that trajectory of facing one big team and being out instantly?
I think he does, but I think if he gets it, I think if they don't get to the final in this, he's gone anyway. So I think if he's got that, in his,
up at the end of this
like I think the final mightn't even do it for him. But with that in mind, I'd be like, you know what, let's try something here. But then at the same time, if I'm him, if your contract's up, maybe he doesn't want to manage again after this. But if you do you want to really take that risk to go, oh, I tried to do something new and it didn't work out? To be honest, I think if we're saying big decisions, I think he will drop Foden. I don't think he'll drop Kane. There's not a world in which he'd drop Bellingham unless he's got a knock. So I think if we're calling that a big decision, yes, but he's got like very short time to restructure that team. I don't know about you, Robbie.
Yeah, like I think by the first big match to come up against, Trent is out of there. Conor Gallagher is going to be in midfield, definitely. The Jordan Henderson air, like in Pokemon, somebody get bigger in Pokemon. He's actually worse than Henderson. Like it's like he's evolved. He'll be in there, and I think Foden will drop out for. I think Gordon's good, but it could be someone like Bowen because he came on last night, so he'll go a lot more conservative. Like even then, the stuff I talking about, they'll play themselves into form, and Luke Shaw will be back soon. I'm like, you can't just start playing football again in the middle of a tournament after missing.
That's the thing. You can't have warm-up games in a European tournament. Like it's mental. And on the defense, actually, I think we should add John Stones into that potential need to pivot because yes, he's been unbelievable for City this year, but he's not working in that system. Gahey was brilliant, I think, and I never thought I'd say this. It's begging the question: why wasn't Maguire there? Because Maguire, you know what you get with Maguire in European tournament.
But this was the issue. This was the issue. He had a knock for 6 weeks. I think was the time he's going to be out. So he would have been missing the first game, I think, by the time it came around. But this is one of the things we actually touched on in the live stream is this is the chickens coming home to roost for Southgate's loyalty to these players that didn't deserve. He spent too much time keeping Maguire in the squad instead of building and getting Gahey and Stones and Dunk or whoever you're going to be playing to actually play together. Now to have this guy who played practically every match, like the last European qualifying match, their back two was Gahey and Maguire with Lewis on the left and Walker on the right. Half of that defense isn't in the tournament at all. It's not like they're even like on the bench. So what was the point of that qualifier? Like if you're not preparing, like they went 6 wins, 2 draws, 0 losses in qualifying. So they qualified early. At what point do you not turn around and go, maybe I should think about the squad? Like, this was at a time when Harry Maguire was not playing for United, let alone playing well enough to get included. So,
And I think you're completely right, because the only time they're going to experiment realistically is that third game when they've qualified after beating Denmark. Like, that is the only time they're going to try something, and that is probably too late for this. But like, going back to the does he have the ability to drop Foden? I think if you drop Foden, you're probably throwing Gordon in there, but is Gordon even ready for that? I don't know.
Yeah, Gordon or Bowen. I think he started Euro 21 with Foden, and a similar thing. He just kind of dropped out, but now I think there's even more case for it because Bellingham is so good. So it just seems like a bit of a mess compared to some of the other bigger teams we've seen. I just can't see
I
it
don't know
work.
about you guys, but I think it stinks of the 2006 team.
Yeah, I could see that actually. Just like it never gets going, and lots of big name players, and then like I'm just waiting for Rio Ferdinand to get his kind of comeuppance and listen to him backtrack on all his nonsense. So I'm looking forward to that. And I seen a good tweet saying that because it was on BBC. There was Ferdinand, Micah Richards, and Cesc Fabregas, and someone said it's like putting Paul McCartney in between Jedward. Like it says Fabregas was like brilliant in his second language, or I don't know, probably his fifth language, and it was great where he said, well, at one point Micah Richards was like, oh, we need to build a team to get the best out of Foden, and Fabregas is like, no, like no, it's up to Foden as well. Like it can't just be down to the manager. Like, and another one, I think Rio asked him, asked Fabregas, had he ever seen a player
Oh
as
yeah,
good as Bellingham at that age? And Fabregas was like, probably thinking to himself, yeah, like Messi and me. Like Fabregas was 16 playing for Arsenal. Like,
you'd forget that. Jesus, he
wasn't
was.
he captain at
yeah,
like
so
21 or
it was
22?
all the delusions of Rio Ferdinand and the British media were out in force last night, and that element will be funny when it kind of comes crashing down.
Also, just to give a bit of credit, like the Serbian team, they after the goal kind of faltered for a bit, but just before the halftime and then straight after the halftime up until like the 75th minute, they were very damn good. Like for most of that second half, England didn't know what to do. They just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Like it was the complete reversal of the first half, where like they just kept getting more and more compact in their own half, and the Serbians just kind of kept coming at them. And if they had players that like their best players are in the Saudi league, like if they had the likes of a Kovacic or somebody like that that's actually playing at a top level, they would have been able to.
If they had Mitrovic, like if they'd the Fulham Mitrovic, I
Yeah,
think they could have had a go there. And I think, to be honest, I think if they got a goal against England, I think England would have fucking crumbled.
yeah,
I
or the
really do.
Ajax Tadic. Like Tadic is 35 now. Like if he was a
Yeah.
couple of years younger, you would have seen something different possibly.
Yeah, and like I thought their goalkeeper was pretty good. He's a football manager favorite of mine, but that was his first competitive international game in 2 years.
Jeez, he did well.
And
Yeah,
like it didn't look it. Like in fairness to him,
Yeah.
but like a funny one for you is 2 goalkeepers are drawn for the most clean sheets in one tournament in the Euros, and it's 5 clean sheets. Can you name the 2?
Oof. Pickford?
Yep,
it's a
2020,
good one.
and then the other one's an easy one.
Who's Lloris?
Casillas.
Oh,
20.
Jesus.
of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, but like Pickford.
You've been a
Like,
Pickford stan for a long time, and I've been fighting it for a while, but it's hard not to back that man. He may be a complete lunatic, but like he is
he
very
loves the
good.
rave. He loves the rave. Like it was very good, and like I think a little bit of. I saw a tweet going around that if England were to win this, which they're not going to, but if they were to win it, Pickford would then have to be considered their best modern goalkeeper.
100%, and only for the fact of England have had better keepers than him, but England have had that issue of England number one just for unexpected reasons just breaks down as a football player. Like,
Well, if you look at the kind of last few number ones that England have had, they're actually not
Hart.
that good. Joe Hart
Joe
was
Hart.
very good. when he was good, he was absolutely amazing.
He never
Before that,
recovered from Pirlo and that Panenka in
no,
2012.
Hey,
but like,
you're actually dead right.
He
yeah,
never
but
was,
like,
and then he was bad in the Iceland match then, and it was. But that Panenka, I think something died in heart that day.
but then if you look before that, it was David James, Paul Robinson, Kirkland got a few games, or a
Yeah,
Carson,
Ben
like
Foster was in there for a wee bit under
Rob
yeah,
Capello.
Green,
Yeah.
Rob Green, the
Rob
ball
Green,
bounced over him.
like England's goalkeeping situation has been overrated for a long time, and I think that Pickford is as good as it gets in
Yeah, I
terms
think
of
so.
at least he's played very well for England. Hart was always a very good goalkeeper, but I don't think he was never his Man City self for England. So a little bit more respect on his name. But the next game that we're going to go on to now is the Netherlands 2-1, Connor. Did you get to actually watch this one, or
Yeah, I saw a bit of it. Saw the highlight package afterwards. I love to see the result. Obviously, not from a sweepstakes point of view because I've got Poland, but I've always been a fan of Netherlands and how they play. It's kind of, I suppose, for me anyway. I think it was an expected win. Both teams performed pretty strongly. Netherlands, as with the score, just edged it. It was ironic to see Weghorst get goals because we've spent a season taking the piss out of them. But no, all in all, like I mean, it's nothing to suggest they're going to win the tournament by any means. But I think they'll get through that group, probably go out in the knockouts. I don't know about you, Robbie. Did you catch it?
I did. I liked Veghorst coming on and scoring. I always find it funny when he's playing. And I can't get on board with Memphis Depay's headband. I like Alan Cawley on RTE, our former colleague, kind of. Alan Cawley. It was great to see him, and he was basically not having a bar of. He spent a good couple of minutes talking about Depay's headband, which is probably the main thing I'm going to remember from that match. Um, the Dutch, like I don't think Koeman's a particularly great manager. I think you'll see a lot of that in the tournament. It'll just be thrown on Veghorst, which there's nothing wrong with it. But like Van Gaal, people might forget who I'm a big fan of, and obviously he's retired now. But Argentina only won on penalties to knock Netherlands out of the World Cup 18 months ago. Like if they had to come through that, God knows what would have happened. So I don't think Koeman is anywhere near Van Gaal's level, and I think there's on course for kind of a quarter final exit and more headband shenanigans from Memphis the boy.
I really do think like Van Gaal again gets laughed at and he plays horrible football, but the man can grind out a result, and that's what you need in football. Like I don't know about you, Killian. Did you get a chance to see any of the highlights from the Netherlands game?
only the highlights, and even from that, all I got was the vibe of we're not here to take over, we're here to take part. It was just, yeah, it was just another game. Like I don't think Netherlands are where they were 10 years ago in the sense of being like, oh, they could be a dark horse. I don't think they're anybody's kind of tipping them for that. But one team who I thought was very good was Italy. Like Spalletti is putting together a nice squad
He's
there.
cooking over there.
And like myself and Nate actually had a chat on one of the live streams, kind of going, there's a lot of names in there that I don't recognize, and I think that's a really good sign for the Italian team. The fact that they have this cohesive unit of players that are going to do their jobs and not just be superstars. And I think we got so used to the same names cropping up after tournament that they just having this kind of fresh injection is only going to be good things for them, Robbie.
Yeah, I really liked them at the last Euros. I thought they were class. And I loved watching Bonucci and Chiellini, but they're gone now, but they still have Bastoni. He scored the other night. And Spalletti is a great coach. So you could see them definitely at least quarterfinals, and then maybe they might be able to cause an upset. But he is another one of the, like we're saying earlier, that like Nagelsmann's such a good coach. Spalletti will be like in that bracket as well. Like Napoli won the league under him. Then I think he just walked away, and then he took this job when Mancini left for Saudi Arabia, and 18 million euro a year apparently. So, yeah, but they have got good play. I like their midfield. I like Barella, and Jorginho gets a lot of stick, but I do think he's a very good footballer. And Arsenal gave him a new deal. The up front is probably where you're going to be questioning. Like Scamacca, he did well for Atalanta, but he didn't do great for West Ham. But I don't know if they have that kind of. Well, they didn't have it 3 years ago either. But yeah, I did think they had the nous of Chiellini and Bonucci, and they're gone. But yeah, I could see them last quarterfinals at least.
I have to say that Albanian team were a lot better than I expected. They kind of
Showed the level.
yeah, they battled like.
Yeah,
A little
like
bit of respect on Slovenio's name, the former
yeah,
Man City and
and
Barca left back.
Pablo Zabaleta is their assistant coach.
Like them lads are cooking, and apparently Albania are going to give citizenship to Slovenia for
Yeah,
his performance in the qualification. Like yeah, like I think if nothing else, that nation might take a bit of heart from that and be able to get one or two players to some bigger clubs and kind of maybe
Big
grow the
time.
next. The last kind of Albanian player I properly remember, other than Broja, obviously now for Chelsea, was Lorik Sana, who was at Sunderland briefly,
oh,
but
I
most
remember him.
famously at Marseille, where he was just an absolute unit. So we might see a golden generation for them coming up. And
Fully though,
speaking of,
like if Ireland play Albania tomorrow, we get smashed. Like
oh yeah,
Mm.
oh
like
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely beating us. It shows the levels that have gone up with, like the Euros expanding, the Nations League. Like there's more competitive matches now in Europe than ever, and like it's benefited teams like Albania or Georgia or North Macedonia. All these we think of them as minnows, even though they probably think of us as minnows. They're all getting better, and we're just like kind of steadily getting worse. So yeah, I wouldn't back us against. I wouldn't back us against anyone, but I wouldn't back us against them guys.
Speaking of a golden generation, Connor, Romania 3-0 against Ukraine. Where the hell did that come out of?
Well, I have to say I was both delighted and distressed by it as a Romania in the work sweepstakes. So my chance of getting the worst team in the tournament prizes that's gone out the window. But yeah, I don't think anyone expected that against Ukraine. You know, we were chatting before the pod that Lunin really has had a dramatic fall off in the last couple of weeks. I don't think he's completely to blame for all three goals. But yeah, no, I was really surprised. I thought Romania would come out of that tournament with no points or a point out of absolute push. I'd be worried if I was Ukraine.
Their squad is the on that, like the combined squad value is the lowest in the tournament. Romania, make of that what you will. I think it's
Mm.
like 80 million combined of all 26 players, whereas England's like 1.3 billion. So that might put into some perspective just how kind of much of a journeyman team they are. Yeah, I saw a funny tweet that Zelensky's now going to film a video asking USA for gold. So that made me laugh, and that was I didn't see this match because I was like, Ukraine versus Romania. It's the most Monday afternoon in a football tournament I've ever
Yeah.
seen, but I didn't
Yeah,
actually
that
get
had
to see it.
0-0 screaming all over it.
Yeah,
But for our kind of final game of the evening, we're going to give some flowers now to Nate, who fought ferociously about whether or not Belgium were a top tier side for our sweepstakes.
And
He's
he really passionately battled that
oh,
they
he
were
was
not.
so not happy, so not happy about us overruling him. And Connor, was he right?
I mean, Belgium are Belgium. You know, they've always had incredible players and never been able to figure it out. Um, before we hopped on, we were saying, they're ranked third in the world, which is mental when you think about the output that they have. I mean, you know, they easily could have won that game today. Lukaku could have had about 5 goals, two of which were disallowed. One, he was minorly offside. The second was a handball, not of Lukaku's doing. But for me, lads, before we go back to just Belgium are they a top tier nation? Which Nate, I'll agree with you now. No, they're not. But that handball was judged off the microchip in the ball, showing a sound wave that something had touched the ball. The ref couldn't see it. The sideline ref didn't see it. It had to go to VAR to then go to a screen to then look at what looked like an ECG machine showing a heart rate. To me, that can't happen, lads. Like that's too much perfection
Football's gone
required.
woke.
You know?
Football has gone woke.
Yeah, it has. It
yeah.
really has. And I hate using like the term woke in terms of football, but that's probably the best descriptor of it. Like it really like there's a level of like for me, Kevin Doyle was getting pretty passionate about how the game's gone if we're dependent on sound waves to make decisions, and I think he's right in the fact that keep offside, keep goal line technology, and roll it all back from there.
Yeah, I fully agree. I watched this and do agree with Nate. They're not top tier, but also they should have won this by a good few
By a
goals.
margin, like, yeah.
Even the goal they gave away, the first goal, like it was a brain fart from Doku. He just passed it to the Slovakian player, like so. And there was loads of chances, not just missed chances. Loads of times when like Doku was in and he passes it too late to De Bruyne, and he De Bruyne huffing and puffing, or Trossard. One time I saw him, he shot from like 30 yards. So it's just gone with them. Like the time for Belgium to do something was 2014, which he did, got to quarterfinals of the World Cup, but 2016 to like 2018. That was when,
Yeah.
like, they'd Moussa Dembele. Like, he was probably one of my favourite players ever. He's played for Tottenham. He was unbelievable midfielder when he was fit. Now they have that guy, Onana, off Everton, who was just lumbering around, like, not great. If De Bruyne with a bunch of lads 5, 6 to 10 years younger than him doesn't want to be there. Lukaku, who God love him, like you try to defend him and then he just keeps missing chances, but then he scores 80 odd goals wherever he has for them. So yeah, they have an easy group though. That's the only thing they'll come out of that. No question that they'll come out of that. But I
They've
think
such a
Nate might have a
bad,
point there. They're not.
they've such a badly made up squad. Like they had Yannick Carrasco starting in defense, who when he was at Atletico Madrid years ago, he was an attacking winger.
Yeah,
And then he'd gone to China and came back, and I think he
no,
went
he's in
back.
Saudi.
And like the man chases the bag, but the fact that he's still starting for you,
We must clarify the cash bag just to say,
Yeah,
but like the fact that you have the likes of like Axel Witzel, Jan Vertonghen, like please
fair
put the
play
man
to
in
him.
faster. He must be tired.
He must be like, I'm gonna die, or I'm gonna. Or someone has to retire me, but either way, I'm not leaving this team. Like I am here. He's 37 years of age. But he was great like 10 years ago. Him and Alderweireld were like two of the best centre halves in the Premier League. Like, but now it's with Belgium with him. It's like this is like, remember that thing that used to be on Sky Sports, Masters football?
yeah,
Yeah,
Like all the
that
other
was
guys that
class.
play. Yeah, that was class, but you wouldn't put them in the first team anymore. So yeah,
that's taking
I actually didn't realize
somebody-
Witzel was still there until he said it, Killian. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
But it's like taking advantage of these lads' civic duty and national pride. It's like, no, somebody has to tell them, no, you've done your bit. Thank you very much. Bring in, even if it's not as good, bring in the next generation. Like, it's.
When
To
you
be
look
honest,
at
I
that
don't
front
know.
four, though, lads, Doku, De Bruyne, Trossard, Lukaku, how in Christ's name are they not winning football games?
Well, what I
Point
saw
is-
today was Doku's decision making was shocking. Like I have to say, like he's obviously very talented, but like the whole plan seemed to be give the ball to De Bruyne. He's going to switch it to Doku. Doku's going to run. Everyone get in the box, and he's going to cut it back. And he just made the wrong decision every time, Doku. So and then with them, because they don't seem to have much of a team spirit, they start heads dropping or giving out to each other. And remember, even the World Cup 18 months ago, De Bruyne looked delighted to be knocked out. He's like, "We're old, like we're crap now. What do you want us to do?" Like
Yeah.
this is what was coming out of the squad. Like,
And it's like another one for me is like just on a positive note from Slovakia it was great to see Dubravka, obviously a Toon lad, get a clean sheet in a major tournament. It looks like we're going towards a new keeper, but wish him the best and all of that. But yeah, I think De Bruyne's point like that will be again this tournament where he's like, I'm just come off the back of a really long season. I don't really care about getting to the round of 16 and going home. You know,
Well, in fairness, he hasn't come off a back of a long season. He's
he
coming
was
off
injured for the
back
first
of a
half.
massive
Yeah.
injury.
Yeah.
And the thing about him is every time he gets a reasonable tackle, he's going down. And I'm never sure if he's going to get back up. Like, and that's even counting the last few City games and stuff. When he's getting hit, I don't know if he's worried or if he's acting it up, but it's always that kind of like, oh, he might not get up this time.
And he's also been dropping little breadcrumbs about going to Saudi. I don't know if you boys saw that.
Oh, they weren't
physically, it's
breadcrumbs.
getting tougher for him. Like he's obviously an amazing footballer still with the ball, but even today in the match, like he was fading as the game goes on, as he would. I think he's a year left at City, and he'll be off to Saudi with Carrasco, and probably Lukaku will be there at that point as well.
Like they weren't breadcrumbs he was dropping; they were full slices of bread.
Yeah.
Like he was literally saying, "I can earn more money in 2 years there than I can in the previous part of my career."
But
Like,
I understand that, and you got to maximize your money making ability as an athlete in a short period of time. Not that he's short for cash, but I mean, players
at
like
least he's
him.
honest about it.
He's
At least
honest about it, yeah. But players like him, I just go to the MLS, man. Like you'll make probably what a third of what you'd make in Saudi. You'll have some self respect about you.
The other
Yeah.
thing, last on Belgium before you go, this is just a point that's always kind of bothered me with them. People think they underachieved. I know they're a brilliant team, but it's a country of like 10 million. Like,
Yeah.
All right, Graham Souness.
I know, okay, that's fair enough. Listen, I wouldn't use that to go, listen, this team should win. But over the whole course of a period, I think like we have to put into perspective. And I remember
100%.
their manager in 2016, Mark Wilmots, who I think his nickname was like the War Pig or something like that. Like he was a terrible manager. He got knocked out to Wales. Like Sam Vokes and Hal Robson Canu scored against them. Like Belgium should have won that tournament in France. Like they were
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant squad. Remember he hammered us. I remember watching them against Ireland, and I'm like, these guys aren't even playing the same sport. Like they're not. It was like that Space Jam where the aliens play against the cartoon characters, and Ireland are just so far behind them. So I think people like pile on them and go, "Oh, golden generation," because all the pundits start saying it. They have got a lot of great players, but they don't. They're not exactly Brazil. Let's just put it that way. Like they probably won't ever have that group of players again.
So it was a golden generation.
It was, but
So
it's like for a small enough country, I would
Yeah.
say. So
yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's just kind of going
yeah,
like, let's just take it for what it was. It was an
yeah,
amazing.
Well, it
tournament.
was like we had 2002. That's their version, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, just take the wins that you got and remember them fondly.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about our predictions from before the tournament? Are we still kind of happy enough with how you saw?
I'm, you know, I don't know the score of the France game yet, but for me, I have a France-Germany final. I'm pretty happy with that. I think Germany
yeah.
are going to cook. I think I said England to go out in the semis. It's every chance they go out in the quarters. But I don't see them.
I said quarters.
I mean, that could be a big call. And I think I might be late to the party, and I might have to sprint down to Paddy Power to get Havertz as top goal scorer.
You heard it here, of course. One of my friends actually did it as well. I'm like, I listen, it might not happen, but he's taking penalties, and Germany look like they're going to score a lot of goals. So I might ask me again in a week's time. Germany might do it. They look the best team so far, anyway. I haven't seen any of France, but I've seen enough of them to know kind of how they're going to play, really. So
What are you thinking, Killian? You happy with your selections?
Oh yeah, I always am. Even when they go terribly wrong, I'm going to stand by them like as if they were the flag of my own country. And speaking of which, Ireland has been embarrassed yet again, not by anything they've done, but by what they've not done. We've been linked with Gus Poyet for a long time, and by the time we could play him, his contract to run out for Greece to do a managerial search and appoint a manager, we've still not been appointed a manager.
It's
What
like
the hell?
it's one of those ones that I've got past the point of even being annoyed about it anymore. It's
oh
just
yeah,
it's a travesty, but if anything shows a magnifying glass just on how crap of an organization they are from top to bottom. I put like the last thing I'd say on this, and it's been my kind of opinion for the last, I don't know, 2 months. What manager would want that job now?
yeah, John O'Shea, and that's it.
Yeah, and I feel almost bad for him because if he takes it, it's just kind of like, yeah, you were the only one there, like, you know. And we've said before, give him a year, give him 18 months, but like, just make a bloody decision.
Yeah, because we're
Yeah,
missing out all the time. We're falling further and further behind. Like as you said, all these other countries, they all have a plan. They all have decent players. They all have a decent coach. Like there's Silvino Pop. I didn't know. I hadn't thought of Silvino in years. And next thing he's coaching Albania with Sabaleta as an assistant. Like there's lots of coaches out there. Like and they're all going getting these jobs, and we're there just kind of staring at our belly buttons. And will we will we give O'Shea? And like and now you're like it doesn't matter. And as I said to you guys last week, the next World Cup only 16 European teams qualified. Ireland aren't going to be among
Not a
that anyway.
chance.
So yeah, give it to
see,
O'Shea and then go back in the background. Maybe start looking around for someone.
But
but
I
see,
will say, if I'm John O'Shea, if they offer me an interim job for a third time, I'm saying no.
oh, you can't do that.
No
But
one
like,
offers John O'Shea the interim job 3 times in a row. Like
Like
he
you
probably
just
would
there's
take it. Yeah,
oh,
it's so
for his own,
embarrassing. But
his own sanity.
yeah,
But like this is one of the things that really annoys me is like Sunderland for the longest time when we were doing them great escapes every year, we were in the worst positions and we would think outside of the box and get these managers in and we'd survive. We had Di Canio. We brought Dick Advocat to the Premier League 10 years after anybody had last
I
thought of
forgot
him.
about that.
Yeah, and he's only just retired this year. Like, he was last managing in Curacao. We brought Gus Poyet from Brighton in League One. Like, think outside of the box, like the Slovenio, and we can do that. And one of the ways we should be doing that is through Dara McAnthony, who actually tweeted, how on earth has countries like Albania, no disrespect, made a Euros and not Ireland? With all due respect, what the fuck are the Ireland team doing with our national team? I'm happy to work for free to resolve this nonsense. With players we have at our disposal, we should be qualifying for the Euros and World Cups easily. Let's get our act together, Irish football. Out with the veterans and never-beens, and let's get rocking and rolling for USA 2026 World Cup. Ridiculous how awful international football in Ireland has been for the last 6+ years. Now, for those that don't know, Darren McAnthony is the Irish owner of Peterborough United. Them Irish setup needs to take that offer seriously.
Big time, but they won't. They just won't.
The FAI were like, you had us at, we'll work for free. Like, get him in, whoever he is. I know who he is. He's like Peterborough manager, or Peterborough owner and chairman, and he's been successful at that level. And if he wants to get involved and he thinks he can put shape on it, like, go for it, because no one else has been able to. Maybe need to bring back John Delaney. Maybe he wasn't as bad as everyone was saying. Like, I don't know.
Well, see, this is my thing. Is like, from us looking at the position, I do think it's actually more attractive to outside managers than we think. And I think with the whole setup, I think there's so much jadedness around it. Us for the managerial search, apparently the team that works for the formerly FAI, that they just seem to be wholly jaded in their roles. Just fresh start, get somebody like him in, bit of fresh impetus, and maybe we might.
Well, I will say, boys, we have to remember that our own Nathan put in a CV for the CEO job, and he's not on this pod this week, so we could have a new CEO next week.
I will be putting up election posters to get that man that job, because right now he'd be better than anybody else that I've seen linked to it. But we'll have to wait and see until next week. That brings us to the end of this episode of round 1 of the Euros for 2024. Can't wait for the next week, and we'll chat to you then.
Bye-bye.
Messi. Oh, my goodness. Balotelli.